what I would like to do, let's go ahead and, what I would like to do this next part is do a little bit of evaluation. It's always good to see where we are so that we can have a baseline from which to start. And do not do anything on this page just yet. We're going to go through each one of these one at a time. So just stick your name on it and then don't do anything more. Okay, beautiful. Thanks. Let's see. Okay, so stick your name on those. And then here's what I would like to do. Let's see. Okay. So first thing, we're going to do some evaluations here so that you can kind of maybe some of the things that we'll evaluate. You may not have thought, oh, well, that has to do with stress, and we'll explain Thursday how. But to start, we'll kind of get some idea. So what I'd like you to do for this first one is we call this the stressometer score. And here's how I'd like you to put the number on here. If you were thinking about maybe not the last month of your life, because maybe summer's a little bit atypical, but if you were thinking about a typical month in your life, and you were to give yourself a number, let's say if you were to say 1, you would be, if you were to put down the number 1, you would have during that entire time, you know, pure bliss, many periods of ecstasy, you know, happiness, certainly no stress at all. What? What did he say?
He said you're a junkie.
Drug-free, by the way. Drug-free. So that's one side of the scale. On the other side, so, and this probably you might have some drugs going, but you know, suicidal, high levels of anxiety, perhaps clinically depressed, stress levels through the roof. You know, just unbearable stress. Nothing to do with the symptoms yet, but just your general state. Now, I know we kind of, life's a roller coaster, and some days they're up and some days we're down. But if you were to put a number on, or an average, you know, adding up all the days, dividing by the number of days, what number would you put in there? Okay? And just put one in there. Just whatever that is. All right, now, once you've done that, put your pen down. And here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to find your pulse, either right here or right here. Somebody once told me, this is more accurate than this. You who are in the medical field might understand why. It didn't make any sense to me why this would be more accurate. But anyway, find your pulse, and what I'm going to have you do is count your heartbeats. So you all should have one. Yeah, it is. For most people, this is an easier find. You got it? Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just count the number of beats. Just count when I say begin, start counting, and then when I say begin, you know, you're you're through. So, ready? Get your heart rate. Begin. Stop. Now, in your head, double that number. So if you counted 35, then write down the number 70 on that second line. So just double the number you counted, put it on the line. Okay, now put your pen back down, pencil. Now, what I'd like you to do right now is I want you to sit so your rear end is back in the back of your seat, so you're sitting straight up and down. I know it's not a very comfortable way to sit. Now, I'd like you to put one hand right here, just above your heart's right here. I want you to put your hand right here, and your other hand right over your belt, so your palm's right over your belly button. Okay? Everyone there? Now, what I'd like you to do, don't change a thing, don't modify this at all, but I want you to just figure out, when you inhale and exhale normally, not, I'm going to breathe superiorly right now. Breathe absolutely normally and figure out, when you inhale and then exhale, which hand moves the most. So when you inhale, does your chest, like this, seem to move more? It doesn't mean you're better or worse if one does or the other, but does your stomach move more, so it goes like, I'm exaggerating this, but your stomach would move in and out. Here's ab work for the day. And for some of you, it might be both, where your stomach and your chest both move at the same time, breathing normally. So just write down stomach, chest, or both when you figure that out. Okay, now this next one, you think this is just the beginning of strange, trust me. You're going to go home and they'll say, "You did what?" We breathed in class today. Yeah, it's a fun class. So what I want you to do, stay sitting like you are. So rather than just the comfortable way, sit in the, butt back. Now what I'm going to have you do is count the number of normal breaths. So you can close your eyes or not, but just count the number of normal breaths you breathe in a minute. And so when I say begin, just one inhale and exhale is 1. So that would be 1. But breathe absolutely normally, even though you put your awareness on it, it changes, but that's okay. Try to breathe as normally as possible, okay? So ready, and begin. All right, stop. Keep breathing, but stop counting. And double that number. So if you counted 10, write 20. So whatever that is. Okay, now in the next one, I'd like you, for number 5, to just write down what you currently perceive to be your major sources of stress. If you look out in the world and live through your typical days and you find yourself stressed in situations, what are those situations? And you don't just say like school. There's nothing stressful about the buildings. What is it in the school? And you don't have to take too long and be too descriptive, but just say, having 18 hours and working full time and being a single mom or something. Was that close? Was I close? Or, maybe it's you're at your work, you have a conflict of a relationship conflict with your boss. She's not very nice to you sometimes or something. So that might be a source of stress. So just write down what you perceive to be. You don't have to go on and on, just kind of quickly point at each of those items. Okay, let's call that good. The next one, there's 3 parts to this. It says, in what ways do stressors negatively affect you? And I want you to kind of think about yourself in terms of your mental world, your emotional world is B, and C, physically. What do you notice takes place? What do you notice is commonly happening for you when you are stressed out? So like maybe, for example, with your thoughts, maybe you notice yourself having chaotic thoughts, or you can't think of any, can't focus very well, or maybe, and you know what that is more than I do. With your emotions, maybe you find yourself, you just want to cry, or you just want to scream, or you just feel frustrated or overwhelmed, or irritated, just find yourself wanting to kick the cat all the time because you don't know why, but you're stressed. And so it feels like, agitation. And then physically, what kinds of things do you notice happening to you, your body? So maybe like fatigue, headaches, sore muscles, ulcers. We had a student in the other class who has an ulcer right now, and she's pretty sure it's stress-related. Maybe it's, restless legs, or just hypersensitivity to things. But just briefly describe what you notice about yourself when you find yourself in the middle of whatever stressors you feel like you have in your life. And afterwards, maybe it's, you hang on to it, and then suddenly you notice you got a headache or something. Okay. Just kind of bring that to a close. I know that you could go on and on perhaps, but just hit the main ones. Then number 7, I'd like you to list how you usually deal with the stresses that you have. Whether they work or not, doesn't matter. But what do you find yourself gravitating to when you are stressed out? Maybe you want to punch somebody, you find yourself slugging things like the wall, or you drive really fast, or maybe you go to the bar and get really drunk or something because that's the only thing you know. Or maybe you go get a massage, or you go, do some yoga or something at the gym, or you go work out. What do you find yourself doing? And I don't want to put bad or good, but what do you do naturally if you find yourself in that situation where you are stressed and you feel like, I should do something about it? What is that thing? Does that make sense how I said that? And then number 8, how well does what you do work? Do you find yourself blissful and content and happy and peaceful after you do that thing that you intended to use to help you feel better? Does that make sense? How do you feel afterwards? If you go to the bar and get really drunk, do you find yourself feeling terrific thereafter? Or if you go get a massage, does that work? Okay. Now, these last 6 go fairly quickly, the 7 go fairly quickly. But stay with me, don't jump ahead because there's kind of 2 parts to each one. First of all, frequency of headaches. I'd like you to tell me on the line how frequent you find yourself with a headache. So that could mean like never, from never to every darn day, or somewhere in between. And on the outside where it's got those 3 dots, I'd like you to include also if you get migraines or cluster headaches. Does anyone know what a cluster headache is? Good, you don't want one. We'll talk about those later on, but there's nothing worse than a cluster headache. It's like a migraine times 10, they say. But if you do get migraines, include that in there. Length of time to fall asleep. What I'd like you to just think about typically when after your head hits the pillow, how soon do you notice, if you can kind of gauge that? Is it like 6 seconds later or 2 hours later you're still going, I wish sleep would happen? Somewhere in between. No, don't worry about anything on the outside of that one. And then, how many times do you usually awaken during the night? And that is for reasons other than you need to go to the bathroom or somebody makes a sound. You know, just when you just get up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason and you can't really get back to sleep very well. And it's certainly not time that you would normally wake up. Does that make sense? The next one, I just added this not too long ago because I found that there's some connection here. I'd like you to list how frequently you find yourself with nightmares. Or, what's the other one called? Night terrors, yes. From never to every darn night. Next one, how easily do you wake up in the morning? How easily do you get up, whether you're awake or not? How long does it take you? Do you jump right out of bed, you're ready to go, and life's great? Or does it take hitting the snooze button 18 times before you decide, okay, I'm finally getting out of this bed? The next one, how frequently do you find yourself being angry? And I know there's a lot of different levels of that, but how ticked off are you at stuff? You know, whether it's you got here late, or you had because of the traffic, or people are mean to you, so you get angry. Or, you know, how frequently do you find yourself? Is anger at all an issue for you? And then this last one, how frequently do you experience depression? All the way from never to I'm always depressed. And if you've been, I'd like you to, if you've been clinically diagnosed currently or in the last year, I'd like you to also just mention that if you don't mind. Say, yeah, diagnosed, clinically depressed 6 months ago. Right now, maybe it's not as bad, or it's getting worse, or whatever. There's no harm in that. There's no stigma about depression. People just have a fun. Okay, good. Okay, I think. Well, would you mind just make sure your name's on those. Fill in if you need to if you missed anything, but pass it to the middle. And let me just say welcome to this class. I'm excited for what we're going to be about in here. If it's anything like what we've done in the past, this will be a blast of a class. And it's going to be fun doing that with you. So welcome everyone, and we'll see you Thursday. You don't need to bring your books to class. The book you will need at home, but not here. Okay? Nice to meet you, and we'll see you next time.